Welcome back, everyone. We're getting ready for our second best of two series for week 4, day 1. We had an awesome draw in that 1-1 series between TSM Academy and Evil Geniuses Academy. But looking at this one that we have at hand, Golden Guardians Academy versus Immortals Academy. Both teams sort of struggling right now, but every time I ever hear about this Immortals Academy, everyone sings their praises. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to perform today.
Yes, because the struggles for IMTA Academy are not the struggles of most teams that have a similar record or worse, which is that their 2 games look scrappy and bad, or maybe they're just not finding cohesion. The struggle for IMTA Academy is that their game 1s just suck. They're flat out. They're not able to get it together for game 1. They're asleep. But when they wake up in game 2, oh my gosh. They look like one of the best teams in the league. So the struggle for this team is, how do you start with the energy that you bring for game 2? How do you show your game 2 performances consistently across the board? So we still will sing their praises because of how dominant they become once they get it together after game 1. And here against Golden Guardians, though, I feel like this can be an opponent that has really struggled in this summer split. And you can still lose if they actually play how they usually do in the opening games, but this is a weaker opponent than I think they have faced thus far, and so this could be the opportunity, the moment for IMT Academy to start off the week with a 2-0.
It could be. This could be a good start for them, but I do kind of want to flip the script and talk about Golden Guardians a bit here too, because this is a team that tries to get as much practice in all these other promotional leagues as well. You look at Proving Grounds tournaments, they like to take part in these to get additional experience, to get more learning experience. But it always seems like, even time in spring, that they have this slow start. They have one of the slowest starts of any teams. I feel like that's also been kind of like a narrative that we constantly have to run with these academy teams towards the bottom, is they always start slow, but somehow are able to build up, and as we get closer to Proving Grounds itself, they seem to finally come online. I'm just wondering, when does Golden Guardians flip that switch?
They're going to have to do it pretty quickly. They really will. And I think they have been attempting to. They have had plenty of moments where they have been ahead. But enough of our talking heads. Let's introduce graphics around them as we go into Champ Select.
There we go. As we get in at Champ Select, I'm curious. You kind of talked about it a little bit with Team Luke in the interview, but Ziggs has been something that's been cropping up a little bit more, and it has been Golden Guardians Academy that have been playing that a little bit more than other teams. We've already had 3 games so far of Prismo playing that bot side.
They have been playing a lot of Ziggs, yet IMT as an organization have also been experimenting with it. The LCS roster has shown that. Pretty has given us the Ezreal in the mid lane, so I think that both these teams will be capable of actually bringing up something new. The question for me is less of the innovation and more of how powerful is the hard engaged champions that we keep seeing time and time again. The Lee Sins, the Alistar, the Nautilus, the Rumbles, Diana, etc. Are they more powerful than any innovation that is currently available? Because this is exactly what challenging the meta is about. Mundo will really not be picked.
Do it.
Sadly, he is not that strong. You got to remember, Mundo wasn't that strong before his rework.
I don't like
now.
That's not the kind of attitude I like here from.
I know. He was one of my favorites. He really was one of my favorites, and now he needs a little bit more. We all know how oppressive he can be, so they have to be careful with how much they buff Mundo, because this pick, if left to just dominate solo queue, will terrorize pro play just as easily.
Especially with this new passive, the whole, he ignores CC for the first thing. He can pick up the canister, kind of like how Poppy can pick up the buckler. Makes him a little bit scary if he gets overtuned, but you're right, he's not quite there yet. But for the side of IMT, we're already seeing stuff we saw last time. Akali and Xin Zhao drafted the flexibility that Akali has, as well as end up playing on to the Xin Zhao. Very confident in that pick. Whoa! No Ziggs, instead, just immediately into the scaling Jinx and Thresh.
Really early. Now,
right.
IMT have a huge opportunity for just a Nautilus lock-in right now, and the Thresh is not going to be enough to save a Jinx with a Lantern. It's still going to connect. I would love to see that been taken right now, because Golden Guardians will have no qualms about banning it in the next rotation, and they will. this was an easy Nautilus pick for IMT. Golden Guardians better have a plan that does not involve solely Jinx as a carry. You're not going to be able to protect her well enough. There's no hyper enchanters now with the Lulu and the Karma band away. They need to make sure that the top side of the map is a threat in and of itself, and that the Jinx just happens to play cleanup, can use her passive, can use the rocket to assist in the execute, or otherwise there is nothing to keep her alive, and there will then be no threat to also take her place when she's gone.
Just feels a bit early coming in from Golden Guardians. I get that they want to try to see if they can just have a bot side that's going to be able to play it safe, play a little bit more cautiously, but like you said, Nautilus was wide open. You knew that that was going to be the answer coming in from IMT. They had even hovered it previously. They were saying, hey, there's a possibility we pick this. Now that they banned away Tristana, I'm imagining Kai'Sa is also going to be the ban from Golden Guardians just to try to take away some of the power that Nautilus can have in lane.
There's still picks like Kalista. I think they struggle into the likes of the Jinx and a Thresh, but they can assist with the engage. So I think the Kai'Sa, if they're going to ban the AD carries, does make a lot of sense. But just want to exemplify that there are plenty of picks. And yeah, we thought about the Kai'Sa. There's always the Varus too, right? There's still a lot of AD carries that are relevant to the IMT direction with which they want to take this composition. And here, they could just lock that one in. Save the Akali for the flex. You already know what the bottom lane is going to be. I think Kai'Sa just makes the most sense. Nice and easy. Something to follow up with the rest of the squad. Kalista, like we mentioned before, would be a little bit weaker in the lane. But if they want to be aggressive in 2v2 with help from the jungle and get past that early lane, then it's even better come team fights.
Exactly. The team fights, the skirmishes. Kalista is one of those champions that can work really well with what's already been drafted by Immortals so far. They've got Xin Zhao, who's excellent at those skirmishes as well. Nautilus is going to be able to provide a bunch of help now. But on the other side, it is going to be the answer coming in with this Rumble, making it so that they at least have something to kind of lock down targets if they are not playing it as cautiously as they should.
This Rumble does not have a lot of setup just yet, though, so Rosethorn will have to be on point with his equalizer. They like to pick because, again, a lot of members will be just piling into the rest of IMT, and ooh, Lucian as a last pick. This is Golden Guardians putting a huge burden of execution on themselves. Not a lot of synergies between these picks. 2 AD carries against a composition that wants to dive into you, that will be able to have a Xin popping the ultimate and defending from both AD carries. So it's going to be hard for Golden Guardians to actually pilot this draft. And if Nocturne is the last pick, there is a uniform vision for the IMT Academy in how they want to play this game. It is hard to dive, shut off the lights, and dive into multiple members, 4 of them, which really won't be able to escape once they get tagged. Only Lee Sin will really have peel. So Golden Guardians needs to get ahead. They really need Yunbi to dominate the early lane and to run away with this game. Because if they're even or behind, it's over.
Mid-game, mid-game, mid-game. That's what I'm hearing right now. It's just all about how the execution comes in a little bit in the early game for Golden Guardians, but IMT, they have such a great skirmish composition all around. Like you even said, their potential to dive in. I mean, well, Keith might be left on a poor little island like, oh, sorry, Kalista. At least he's able to toss in a Nautilus in there as well, so everyone else can get that damage provided on these very immobile champions. I mean, sure, Lucian and Lee Sin are going to be somewhat mobile, but if you can kill Prismal, there's a lot of damage gone. If you can kill Rosethorn before he's able to get Equalizer, gone. Thresh not really going to be able to provide the CC enough in order to help out the team.
It's the same story as Tom Kench, where you can only save one member, and when the whole house is burning, I mean, like everyone's gonna feel the pain. Everyone's gonna get burnt. So it's really tough. Newbie's Lantern will have to be incredible this game. But more importantly, it's the laning phase. If you get far enough ahead that you can actually just sacrifice a member, or they can even live through the initial engage by being so far ahead through the laning phase, then that will also work. So there is an opportunity for Golden Guardians' lanes to actually get ahead. The synergies between Jinx and Thresh are good enough to be a solo lane, or a lane that can get kills. Same thing with Yunbi, and even Niles can pull that off if he gets help from Rosethorn. So they will have to be more aggressive than I think we've usually seen this team be in the early game, but they have gotten leads in the past, Magical. They have been able to execute leads before. It's just about holding on to them when IMT's composition comes online.
That you are right, my friend. Crumbs, we are into game one between Golden Guardians Academy and Immortals Academy. Neither team going for anything too risky. You know how I feel about that. I like my skirmishes early. I like my level 1 invades, but of course teams don't want to risk that too much too early. Everyone's just playing very safe. The one thing that kind of stands out to me, though, is looking at Viper with those corrupting ponts, and I can only imagine that he is going to try to see if he can bully Niles at every point.
It's what Nocturne wants to do in this matchup. Be really aggressive. You picked it into the Lee Sin. He knows what he wants. He knows that this was the last pick saved for him. Had the option of actually selecting the Akali into it, but it seems like Pretty is happy to take Akali into the Lucian. Once he hits level 2 with the Shroud, should be actually a fine matchup. It's entirely up to Yunbi to line up his piercing lights to actually connect with Pretty and whittle him down that way.
And you can even tell that Pretty is just going to play this one pretty safe. Going for the fleet of footwork. Not really wanting to step too far up, knowing that this level 1 especially is where Lucian is going to shine into the matchup against Akali to constantly poke her out, like you said, with the piercing lights if they can line up.
So many little nuances that make these lanes so exciting. Like that one. We just saw Viper land his Dustbringer, and that's Niles' cue to back off. Because he can't fight Nocturne in the wave if he already has the damage tag on top of him. And so he needs to make sure that when he gets tagged by that one, that he doesn't really take these trades against him.
Every single time. Just like, oh, nope, Dustbringer connected. Nope, nope, nope. Out of here. Do not want to have any part of... I kind of want to transition a little bit. Ooh, I like that from Yunbi. He gets a nice shove mid lane, has a little bit of a lead. So he goes and places a ward right on top of those Raptors so he knows exactly where Anda is at this moment, seeing as the camps are gone, saying, all right, he's topside. We know where he's at, and this might give Rosethorn a lot more flexibility in how he wants to path.
The curious part, though, is that Anda is actually walking around it, so he won't actually be spotted. Yeah, so they should know, though, that Anda probably started red side, because he wouldn't start Raptors in path to the bot side. That would be fairly weird. I think you can make an educated guess that he did Raptors into Krugs and then into the red side, because otherwise he would be finishing bottom and leaving his red buff up for so long. And a pick like Xin really would like to skirmish with that early on. The value that you get from that buff so early in your team fights, in your 3v3s, is just very high. Rosethorn knows that his bot lane does have priority here, so he will back off. But Prismal and Newbie see an opportunity on Keith.
Well, they also see that they have an advantage. They're going to be able to get the flash. Nice dodge away by Keith. The help with the heal to get that little bit of movement speed. They saw that point to be able to pull the trigger because they know they have a level lead between Rosethorn and Anda. Now, without the summoners, it's going to flash over the wall. What an aggressive play coming in from Immortals. They're going to be able to get the heals to try to see if they can stay alive, but the TP in behind from Niles. Ooh, is he going to flash on top of... It's Rosethorn still barely alive. Niles trying to see if he can dodge his way out. This is going to be a full-on party here. First blood coming in on the side of Niles. Trying to see if he can get away, but it's going to be a double kill on the side of Golden Guards. Make it 3 kills. The double kill goes over to Yunbi. The flash and dash away from Immortals. It all has gone awry. The flash comes in from Yunbi. He ain't done, boy. Hits a triple kill.
Well, that was really nice from Golden Guardians, how they committed every single member of that play. And it all started with their vision once again. They see that Anda and Joey split off and leave Keith by himself. So they initially go after him. And so they feel like they can return into the river. But then IMT's thinking, aha, Thresh just burned his flash. We can commit everybody, but the TPs are so quick. And this is the value that you get from these picks like Lee Sin. Caught between the 4 members, but still gets to live. Great hook to catch out Viper, and by this time, there's already multiple members that don't have flash ready to be reset by the members of Golden Guardians. It was all for the scuttle too. They wanted to collapse, take that scuttle, but Golden Guardians just wasn't going to let them. Magical in the champion select that was saying that they needed to get ahead, to find advantages in the early game, and it was clear that they were committed to that vision with how quickly they TP'd. This was Golden Guardians, knowing that this was necessary, and now you have 3 kills on your mid Lucian.
You really like to live up to your Twitter handle, don't you, with the profits there? It was, damn, that was a good play out of Golden Guardians, though. 3 kills on Yunbi right here. I mean, I also respect you because, you know, Flash is an offensive summoner, and he flashed forward to be able to make sure. So it's pretty. There's not much this Akali can do into this lane anymore.
She will be able to farm when the waves crash, which is something, but maybe even when Yunbi hits level 6, it actually won't be that easy. So now, though, it's going to be up to Yunbi to take advantage of that pressure, because like you say, not much that Akali can do. She's going to be able to farm under the turret. What does Yunbi do with the pressure that he's now generating for free? Well, they're transitioning it into dragons. This is actually one of the earlier dragons that we're getting in the current iteration of the meta, around 6 minutes. So Golden Guardians will attempt to be stacking these early on. That will be in their favor, but a single move for a single dragon, not enough. Again, they have to drive these advantages home, and the responsibility is now on Yunbi. More roams to the bot side seem to be in order, as the control wards around the blue side river should allow the Lucian to rotate freely without fear of ganks.
And once this wave crashes back into him, he's going to be able to shove up as Viper wanted to be able to get a nice play. They are still setting up a potential dive onto Yunbi. The shutdown, they want it so bad. They're like, all right, we have to put the Lucian behind. He has no mana. Here comes the paranoia. The flash with the tether connects. They have the fear, and he's shut down, gifted over to Pretty.
They want it, and they got it exactly on the member that you want to give gold to. The one champion that will be able to deal with both AD carries better than anybody else. Pretty's Akali. And that's a moment where you just have to wonder, how did Viper get to sneak down there and no call was made for Yunbi to back off? Because they were too far away on the map. There's a wave crashing into the top side of the map, so it came at the opportunity cost of that wave for the Nocturne. But I feel like someone needed to call out that there was a potential for a Nocturne roam. Every time we see Nocturne in the meta, the entire gameplay revolves around level 6 and finding opportunities to use that ultimate.
Rosethorn was spotted out by that control ward. He actually backs off wisely from the Gromp, now calling up Newbie, so that's going to be a little bit easier for him to steal away this Gromp. But I thought that Rosethorn might have gotten a little bit too big for his britches there.
It's something that often happens to junglers when they have a bot side that's pushing or any lane. You think the collapse is going to be amazing, but Thresh is actually pretty amazing at helping you do that because of the Lantern. So just calling him over, doesn't need him exactly next to him, but at the very least close enough that he can Lantern him out. So he does get to counter jungle some, but now the rest of the team reset after.
Resets coming through, getting some of those half items picked up for everyone. We already had, you know, the Noon Quiver that Yunbi had earlier on, but he's also got a Sheen working towards that Essence Reaver just to have that much more bang to the punch in these mid-game team fights, or even trying to look to see if he can continue to bully around Pretty. But Pretty now has been, with that gifted kill and shutdown gold picked up, has been able to stay relatively even into the matchup, not nearly as far behind as previously thought.
Here we go. Rift Herald attempt. IMT has rotated all members. They had pushed in the bot wave, so they know they had an opportunity for that. But Prismo is going to be left by himself, attempting to steal with a rocket.
Not just going to be able to delay the back. Yeah, was able to stop the back with Keith. I mean, I guess that's something.
Yeah, it actually is. And Keith.
Oh no, Keith! He's got a flash over the wall, trying to see if they can get the damage coming in with overheat. He's burning over on the side of the wall, burned to death. Even though they trade the kills, the flash has come through. Nice kick, delay, but they can follow up onto Niles. They might even be able to set up a dive with 4 members here. They're going to be able to get a lot of damage, and they're trying to see if they can get the perfect execution to work out for Pretty. But Niles is still alive, flashing away. But here's the rest of the cavalry to make sure they can give another kill over to Pretty on a silver platter. But Newbie, Yunbi, they're both here. They can't fight this one at all.
I like the initial attempt from Golden Guardians into that whole play, stopping the backs, attempting to go for a steal, and I like it because of this. Prismal is able to get a lot of gold by himself and experience. He denied Keith plenty as well. Keith is level 5 right now. He might just hit 6, but he's still a level and a half down over Prismal, who we just saw to be 7 and then some change. So it ends up resulting in a big advantage for the AD carry, something that the Herald alone just won't solve. Looked a bit much, though, when Rosethorn went for that. Keith did have flash and heal, Looks like he might be caught again, though. And it doesn't take it because he doesn't know where Thresh is at. But back to that earlier play, it looked good to stop the recall of Keith because it got the advantage that they were already getting even further. But then when the disengage happened, I did not like how Niles ended up playing that one. Burning the flash and he was already dead, following up on the Q, just gave IMT more of an advantage that they needed to have received for the Rift Herald trade.
I will say, silver lining. Not only did Prismal get all those plates, but he technically got an assist on that play too from the Rocket. So you're getting more and more gold into Prismal. That is always that contingency plan when you pick this Jinx, isn't it? You want to make sure that you're going to have that potential to scale up into the game, and as long as you can keep her alive through this early to mid game, she is going to be able to really dish out some damage to this IMT squad.
It's going to be really important to keep her alive, though, because this is the perfect game to have exactly after Team Luke's interview. Doesn't matter if you're 10-0-80 carry. With the champions that are played right now, you just won't get to live to tell the tale. So Prismal's job is that, staying alive. You do have plenty of gold, but will you actually get to utilize it? And sadly for the marksman, there's 2 of them now, so the job becomes twice as hard. Or if you're a glass half full kind of person, you might be thinking, well, they can only kill one of us, so someone will get the job done.
Right now, Prismal is just embodying the meme. I'm just fighting for my life here. He just wants to survive. But that's why you have this Thresh, isn't it? You have the Thresh to try to see if you can keep Prismal alive. You don't necessarily want the Thresh to be the engager. That's what Niles should be doing. That's what Grossthorn should be doing as well if he's able to get a nice equalizer off.
X-Flash?
X-Flash used. Oh, Paranoia as well. Grossthorn has an equalizer, but it does nothing in that. And that's what I was talking about. You need a good equalizer to back up, so IMT, they're going to take this easy dragon.
Real easy, and that's that vision play that lets him jump in knowing there's nothing happening. Might actually, it actually hit the Nocturne, so funnily enough, Prismal is finding these bizarre Jinx rocket angles that keep striking unintended targets, but they are getting some value out of it, and they also do get some plates in the top lane. But IMT, though, great place to pop the Rift Herald, taking down the Akali turrets, some place where she was barely able to crack damage against Yunbi.
And barely able to, and now with a lot of gold, 3 kills too, completely evening up this mid lane, even having a little bit of bounty on her head, with that Rift Maker all helping out. So that huge level, what was it, level 3, level 4 fight for Golden Guardians sadly just hasn't amounted too much since then.
Yes, and that's part of the issue that has been plaguing Golden Guardians, is very good at making their own plays, but when it comes to responding to what the enemy is doing, that's where they're giving more over than they needed to. And here, they might commit to going for something a little bit crazy. Joey does not have his ultimate. These are always the moments that players often greed out for. A turret is so low. If you just stayed a little bit longer, maybe you can get the turret and get out. Jinx would reset, but Nautilus ultimate will be back up by the time this wave crashes. So if Prismal is to commit to this, despite him having the Kraken Slayer available, if he's caught in turret range by the layering of CC that IMT can mount with their 2 ultimates, he'll be toast.
Joey was even positioning just to be able to have that Hex Flash angle in case they wanted to have the play happen if Newbie had pushed a little bit too far. But now that they're like, all right, there's not really much to worry about. We can rotate mid lane flat. Oh, there it is. Going to be able to get the dredge line. I was waiting for that depth charge connecting as well. The flash coming in from Yunbi. They should be able to get the kill. The rocket only going to do a little bit of damage with the call as well. Grossthorn's nearby. Has the equalizer available, but nobody to lock down inside of it, so they peel off instead.
Okay, I think Pretty might have actually missed a part of his ultimate, and they might have been able to kill Yunbi on that one, but Golden Guardian's still going to be fairly content with the outcome of that fight since no one died and they're able to crash waves and reset. Jinx is now going back to base. The Lucian is going to be able to catch this wave, so they only get to deal with the Nautilus trying to make a play, and they still get to live and continue to funnel gold into their carry. So IMT, though, feeling like they have members to go after, and they feel especially incentivized to do so when there is no Thresh available. When the Thresh, they know where he is, they know the Lantern is not coming out, and so Joey has no problem committing flash and going after those members.
And right now, I'm just looking at this, and honestly, it actually doesn't seem too bad for Golden Guardians. Regardless of if a couple plays haven't gone their way, they still have a slight gold lead, 1,000 gold over IMT. They have a lot of gold into Prismal's pockets, and normally we talk about Kalista in the mid game when she starts to really thrive. The ability to be able to dive around these fights, also controlling these objectives. Well, it's going to be difficult when Prismal has a level lead over you. He has all this gold over you as well. You're going to see from the difference in the mythic items completed between these two ADCs.
It's going to be difficult now, but Keith can always think, well, I can't out DPS you, but I can throw a Nautilus at you, and let's see how you deal with that one, right?
I suppose throwing a massive suit of armor at someone is going to hurt.
So I think Keith has more options than Prismal can account for, but Rift Herald in the mid lane will get them a tier 2, and this they can do now because with the rotation of 1-3-1, the Thresh is there in the middle to back him up. Yunbi looking for a play onto Viper. Nice attempt.
Here's the equalizer with the Paranoia. They pick up a 4th kill for Yunbi.
I like that Viper recognized he had to become aggressive on that one. There was going to be no way out. But unfortunately, he burns his ultimate in an attempt to burst down the Lucian. So it will be at a higher cost than normally would have liked to just take a death on the side lanes because he wants to be using this ultimate for this next dragon fight. That's going to be the objective that these teams will be fighting for. And if Yunbi can just get gold, crash the wave into the top side, and now will put Viper in a tougher position as he will have the teleport available, but no Paranoia to go with it.
No Paranoia, no flank angles. IMT wanted to set up something, but Golden Guardians wise to all of these plays. Look at how far they've been able to push their vision control in that top lane since Yunbi was able to get that kill. It was trying to be mirrored by Immortals on the bottom half, but Golden Guardians instead just saying, yeah, go have it. You can have all of this. We're not really going to care too much. We want to get our recalls off. We want to be able to build up these items for this next upcoming team fight.
And they can give that bot side up because they just made that play top side. They don't have any vision while IMT laid down everything there. And IMT should be interested in playing for this dragon because of that vision advantage that they had. But they now are resetting. And so Golden Guardians feels like they know that IMT is not here. The Nocturne is pushing top. And they know that the timer of Paranoia is not going to be available for him to ult in. And so despite IMT having laid out the entire groundwork for taking a solid fight around the objective, no Paranoia, no good timings for the recalls means that they won't take the fight.
No fight today. Not really wanting that. For IMT, though, they at least are keeping the gold relatively nearby what they would like to. Of course, you're hoping in this mid game right here for IMT that they're going to look for these skirmishes, these picks. Now that they have that Paranoia available, they need to be able to find these creative angles to catch people like Yunbi, like Prismal, out of position. But it's going to be difficult if Golden Guardians continue to play passively and just be able to clean up things that IMT weren't able to sweep under the rug.
Yes, and it's not going to be ideal, though, for Golden Guardians to play passively. I think that right now, they are doing a fine job in finding avenues with which to get gold, especially playing side lane duties. But unfortunately, that just won't last because you've got picks like the Nocturne that are so good at disrupting any side lane play. Whoever tries to match, say, the Akali can always be ganked by him, and that turns the tide into a 1v1 versus a 1v2 that you cannot assist with your own ultimates or TPs without you shooting them blind or preemptively. And so IMT feel like, despite they are just keeping the game of the pace fairly slow, have more options than they had before because their composition is going to operate better in a 1-3-1.
Try to see what they can set up. Right now, I mean, this is a lot more slow than I expected, especially out of IMT. I mean, you were highlighting that they have these excellent abilities to be able to utilize members like Pretty, like Viper. The question here for me is just when are we finally going to see that? They've only attempted like once or twice, and sure, they have a pretty sizable amount of gold into Pretty's pockets, but not really onto Viper. He's got the Stride Breaker, sure, but I need to see more proactivity out of Immortals if I can feel confident that they're going to be able to execute on those flanks.
Here they are attempting one, though, so let's see if Viper can actually add value to it. The Paranoia, I think, should be enough, and if he can land the Fear onto a carry, that will make it worth his time. So that's all they really need to attempt. There's not any members to pick off just yet, though. as they are now backing off, and there's no objective, no real buff to fight over on the red side. So there's no interest in IMT to stay there, while experience could potentially be gained somewhere else.
But I think that's my problem here, my qualm. Look at them. They're kind of positioning as though they still want to be able to find these plays. They still want to be able to get those flanks, but they have nothing that they're able to really accomplish off. No objectives, no vision control to really speak of that they've wrestled away from Golden Guardians in this meanwhile.
Well, if they don't feel like making a play, then they don't want to overforce it because of how dangerous it is if you don't see Newbie. When Newbie is at the very worst nearby, unless everything is perfectly layered, Lantern can come out. And so you're not going to be able to ensure that you get the pick without burning crucial abilities. So they want to be careful. They want to know exactly that when they commit to these fights, despite it being double AD carry, that they don't just Nautilus ultimate, Nocturne ultimate onto a carry, and then he just gets yeeted back by a Lantern all the way back into the team, into the safety of Thresh. But now Yunbi goes in. He's getting aggro.
Would be the call right now, but look at the damage coming in from Yunbi. It's going to be the equalizer, but doesn't get enough damage. The flash away from Viper. He dies to the help of the turret, and Joey's low too. The overheat not going to be able to help him out now. He's got the burn, but the Lantern, not the Lantern, the Dredge line away. The kick on top of the carries. Can they get on top of Keith? The heal to be able to help him out. And is nowhere to be found in this fight, even with the Fate's Call to try to be able to get away. Joey just gets bounced around and burned alive.
Oh, they might be able to keep going. Good Q.
Nice Q, but no kick. Keep fighting back. Keith is trying. He's still alive. Pretty's in the middle, but look at the burn that comes in from the Flame Spitter. Dodging away. Perfect execution to survive. That does not connect this time. The Golden Guardians, they've got what they want. They got 2 kills, and they even have a TP from Yunbi. He's going to be able to cut right back into it.
Anda is sticking around, and there is a teleport from Pretty, and Viper has TP as well, so they can attempt to stop this, at the very least attempt to steal.
Trying to see what they can get. They don't have Paranoia, though, for Viper's down to 50%. And he's being pulled back in, and they have the equalizer back up. Anda dies. No smite remaining. Pretty trying to be able to get away, but back onto the Baron they go, even with the shuriken flip and the golden Pretty. Trying to see if he can stay alive. Viper now trying to be able to join into the fight, but they've got the shutdown they wanted to on a Niles, and they picked up a kill for Prismal. Trying to get the slowdown with the zap. Keith, you can't get away, even with the shield. The rocket's just too much. He's hyper and excited. Double kill. Goes over to Golden Guardians and the Baron right into their pocket.
Golden Guardians decisive with what they needed to do around Baron. Newbie waits in the brush and finds Anda. Critical that the rest of the team was able to follow up right away. Let's take a look at this, because what Newbie did before was taking the health cones, the little honeydews, over the red buff to stay alive, and then he never showed. So Anda, best chance he had was attempting to maybe flash and buy time for the rest of the team to get here, but gets hooked, instantly deleted, and then when the Akali is going in, Viper is just feeling like he has to make something up for the rest of the team. It looks trolled. Went in 1v5, dies right away, but he felt like he needed to do something to avenge the death of the Akali. Some will say he really shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Others would say thank you for sacrificing yourself for the greater good that we were all aligned for, because at the end of the day, that whole sequence of events just started from Golden Guardians getting a few picks that were in their favor, and they just continued to pressure IMT into making difficult decisions and won out every time.
And that's what I've been talking about. That's what it's been all about right now. This hesitation out of IMT has allowed the side of Golden Guardians to be able to continue to scale up. Now Prismal's got some kills. He's got a Phantom Dancer completed too. He is going to be so difficult to actually kill because Newbie is playing immaculately on this Thresh. You talked about the position and not knowing where Thresh is. Well, that's why Golden Guardians can send Prismal to the front lines and be able to knock down so much of these objectives, because they always know Newbie's going to be there to save him.
It's one of the most fun times to play Thresh. Now, you don't get to show off with your hook so often as offensive picks, but you do get to show off with them defensively and with the Lantern. And so as long as he stays hidden within the control ward, he can bail someone out. Can he get it? Not in time.
Look at that equalizer, helped out by the Lantern. And now they're trying to see if they can jump onto Niles on the other side. But Niles ain't afraid. He says, I ain't afraid of no ghosts here, as they continue this onslaught of the base of IMT.
They were not able to place down wards on that Lantern quickly enough. It was a messy place to engage Paranoia, creeps, rumble equalizers, but at the end of the day, Lantern was not sought out. He was able to be clicked, and Roaster is now full HP. Without the engage tools, Golden Guardians can continue to siege.
Look at this. There's only 2 left of the ultimates on the side of IMT. They don't really have that engage tool, the depth charge. They don't have paranoia. They don't even have perfect execution, so they have to completely bail and give up that mid inhibitor.
You can't blame IMT for going for that engage right there. And a mobile member with no flash that you catch with a Nautilus hook, it was the timing to go for it. It was the outplay where Newbie's Lantern did not get warded, because otherwise you stop that Rumble, you stop the Baron push flat out, as a 4v5 would have stopped Golden Guardians dead in their tracks. So that's the kind of look they have to go for next time, but it just might be too late. Sometimes you gotta find the play, and other times you find it, but then the mechanical execution isn't perfect. They're gonna have to come up with both, and even better than last time, as now they're under the pressure of super minions in the mid.
Super minions gonna constantly pour into the base, but they have to fight around this dragon. They're trying to see if they can secure a little bit of vision. It's still 2 minutes out until a potential Ocean Soul point for Golden Guardians. That would be a massive boon for them to be able to keep pushing in and keep harassing these turrets of IMT.
Ocean Soul for any comp, just ridiculous to deal with. Luckily, though, against hard engage, it doesn't feel that powerful because the fights last less. But with the condition in which IMT is at right now, this is not a team that will really be able to burst down members so quickly. The atomization disparity is fairly huge among every single member, especially when you're already seeing that 2 members of IMT, they're itemizing defensively, so they don't really have the damage to just burst down the AD carries. They're trying to stay alive in these fights, but when you're behind in gold, staying alive is not what you need half the time. You really need to be able to just kill the people that are caught by themselves, reset, and look for it again. If you can pick somebody, but you don't have the damage to take them down, that is one of the worst feelings in the world, because it makes you believe less and less in your ability to come back.
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, the itemization just makes me think that IMT can't even burst through the Ocean Soul to begin with. And I'm just worrying for them right now, because we're at the point of the game, it almost feels like it's the point of no return for them. This composition needed to have this mid-game work out perfectly for them. They needed to constantly play aggressively to make sure that Prismal was put behind. And here, they're trying one more time with the TP Paranoia flank, but they don't even have Pretty there just yet. Finally, they pull the trigger, but look, Niles jumps into the backline with the kick on a Keith, trying to make sure they can get the kill on them. He's trying to see if he can cut back away and try to see if he can get it away, but Anda has nothing he can really do in the backline. He has no damage. Rosethorn's able to take him out, and everyone else on the side of IMT trying to run for the hills with low health bars. Only Pretty has any sizable HP to be able to fight back. Keith barely holding on to dear life. He's not really going to be able to do too much, so it's going to be a free soul for Golden Guardian.
IMT felt like they had the chance. They might be able to pick Roaster, but he can't flash out.
And he also might have the Lantern, but he does not get enough. All the while, Yunbi was able to find Joey. I don't know why he didn't flash out either. Maybe the fear was just too much, but the soul is still in the pockets of Golden Guardians.
Still a win for them, like you mentioned. And again, IMT feel like they have to engage, and this time around it was because Joey was in ultimate range of Prismal, but with the Lantern, the distance covered was just way too high. They used Viper's ultimate to try to surprise Golden Guardians, but this is the damage that was done early that just wasn't enough to open up the map for IMT, because there was a mid-tier 1 available. So IMT just can't commit to the dive that hard. They don't have that many members that will be able to instantly follow up. And so the Nautilus ultimate doesn't get chained into Nocturne ultimate, doesn't get chained into Akali, and Golden Guardians have an easy time peeling away and making sure that the carries live.
Carries alive, easy peasy, soul that they already have, gonna be nice. There's a Baron up if they want to. The Golden Guardians are just playing this one so clinical. They're playing it passively, they're waiting it out, sure, a couple hiccups here and there. They're just waiting for Immortals to constantly play into their hands, constantly play to their tune, and that's not looking good unless Yunbi.
Whoa!
It's taken out right there, even with the equalizer. There's a TP in behind, but it's going to be a little bit too late. Look at the damage and the fear coming on top of Rosethorn to be able to get the knock. But how the hell is he still alive? Perfect execution, finally going to be able to pick up the kill, but they got the trade of 1-for-1, and now they re-engage. Yunbi somehow lived this entire time to make sure they can immediately put it back into the face of Immortal, showing that they are weak. They have no way to be able to fight back, and Golden Guardians looking golden once more.
That was Yunbi face. It doesn't get any better than that. You get the AD carry, the guys you're trying to kill face checking by themselves, or Rosethorn can get an equalizer right on time. And he's very tanky with his demonic embrace. Lots of HP. Every single mythic and legendary he's got is keeping him healthier and healthier. So he gets to live a long time through that. Also with the Conqueror, with the Omnivamp. So this is Rosethorn dealing a lot and staying alive even longer. Great timing there on the stopwatch, because then he gets to flash out and gets to live so long through it while slowing the team down. So the Lucian does a great job in buying time, and the whole thing for IMT was that they were looking for a pick, but they were hiding away, that Keith wasn't there, that the play would have gone ideally a kill and they would get out. So Keith wasn't needed. He could stay clearing the mid lane. But when it goes so wrong and his help is required, there's just no way for Kalista to enter the fight.
There's just not enough damage from Immortals. We talked about that before. The itemization they have just hasn't been able to work out because they've fallen behind. They are trying to see if they can just keep the fight going long enough into a Jinx, into a Lucian. We're going to be more than content to constantly be able to get more and more damage as the fights ramp up. And like you talked about, that Omnivamp that Rosethorn was able to get with the assistance of that demonic embrace is nearly unkillable from anybody on Golden Guardians. Even Niles is pretty tanky. Look at how much damage he's already absorbed from the team. He goes golden, and the rest of the team is going to be able to show up. Another equalizer cuts them off. So now that Yunbi has this damage with the call, gets the shield out of him with the pull back in from the death sentence play. Only the Fate's call to keep him alive, and he's not going to be able to stop him even with the 3 talent strike. He's going to die alongside with everyone else on Immortals, trying to be able to get away. They've got the zap connecting, but they don't even need Pretty. They know that they got this game in the bag.
Golden Guardians come out swinging game one. This is such an improvement from their previous weeks. They get ahead early and never let go. That fight in the bottom lane, clearly the communication was on point. They knew what they needed to do to seal the deal on this game, and they've done it.
Right now we're just patting the KDAs on the other side. Pretty doesn't fall, but the game is still picked up regardless by Golden Guardians Academy. Starting off here solidly at a 1-0.
That's a good game for Golden Guardians. They're going to feel good. They're really going to feel good about that one, because they've been able to get leads in the bottom lane so often, just never been able to close out a game. And on the flip side, Magical, this is classic IMT Academy game one. I'm fully expecting them to come back game two with an absolute vengeance, because that's what's happened every time before. And so I don't see this trend stopping since the initial aspect of it. A confusing loss in game one has always been the foreshadowing of a crushing victory of game two.
I mean, I have to agree with you. It's always just seemed to be their modus operandi, where they have these weird plays that level 3, level 4 fight, where they never were able to really get a lead back from that moment. They kind of had a decent enough mid game, but it just wasn't enough. There was not enough in the tank to be able to get to the finish line, while on the side of Golden Guardians, they might have been able to use a little bit of that gas early on. They held off until they were able to get all that gold into Prismal's pockets, and nobody could actually finish him off quick enough.
Prismal was so strong. Yeah, at the same time, you had another AD carry in Yunbi that was even stronger from that earlier fight. So this was exactly what I wanted to see out of the draft, that they needed to have multiple threats other than the Jinx. They went with another AD carry. A little bit of a difficult composition to execute, but the awareness to know where they needed to make sure to deliver, to view the game through the lens of, we need to win early. We need to commit teleports early. Like, it doesn't matter if you lose CS in your lane top or mid or in the jungle. Just make sure that the fights early are where you give it your all, is exactly what happened. Showed that this was definitely a premeditated strategy from Golden Guardians.
That was, and they were able to pick up that first victory over Immortals Academy. We'll see if Immortals can do what they do best and jump back in game two. For now, we're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll have those replays. Stick around.